Be me, 24F, longtime lurker. Yes, we exist. Get over it. Usually just come here for the memes and the sheer unfiltered autism, but a thread the other day about divorce and guys getting screwed over hit way too close to home. Figure it's time to stop lurking and share a story. Maybe some of you anons will get something out of it, or maybe you'll just call me a roasty and tell me to GDFO. Either way, here it is. My family, on the surface, was the picture of normie success. Dad works in some kind of soul-crushing but high-paying corporate logistics job, the kind of man who could tell you the most efficient shipping route from Shanghai to Rotterdam, but couldn't tell you if he was happy or not. He wasn't a man's man, not a Chad, just a quiet, reliable, decent guy. The kind of guy who fixes the leaky faucet on a Sunday without being asked. The invisible cog that makes the whole machine run. Call him a waggy cuck all you want, but he was a good father. He just wasn't around much, emotionally, or so I thought. Mom, stay-at-home mom, pretty, smart, could have had a career, but chose her family. Ran the house like a military operation. Everything was always clean. Dinner was always on time. To outsiders, she was a saint, a supermom. Me and my younger brother, let's call him Bror, 22. The well-behaved, good grades-getting kids. We lived in a nice house in the suburbs. White picket fence wasn't literal, but it might as well have been. It was a lie. The whole damn thing was a lie, built on a foundation of sand and quiet desperation. I just didn't know it until about 6 months ago. Part 1. The crack in the dam. It started, as these things always do, with something incredibly stupid. A normal Tuesday night dinner. Steak, mashed potatoes, the usual. The silence wasn't comfortable. It was heavy. It was the sound of 25 years of unsaid things. Dad clears his throat. This is a major event. He's usually just a background character at dinner. Dad. So Dave from work invited me to join his fishing club. They go out to the lake one Saturday a month. I was thinking of going. He says it so carefully, like he's asking for permission to breathe. He's looking at his plate, not at Mom. Bror and I don't think anything of it. Cool. Dad gets a hobby. Good for him. Mom puts her fork down, very slowly. The sound clicks in the silent room. Mom. A fishing club? Dad. Yeah, just a few guys from the office. Seems relaxing. Mom. A whole Saturday? Every month? Her voice is sweet. Dangerously sweet. Like finding a razor blade in a candy apple. Dad. Well, yeah, that's the idea. Mom. But Saturdays are family days, honey. What about the yard work? What about spending time with the kids? Bror and I exchange a look. We're 22 and 24. We don't have family time on Saturdays. We're either with friends or recovering from Friday night. Me. Mom, we're not kids anymore. It's fine if Dad wants to go fishing. She shoots me a look that could curdle milk. The how dare you betray me look. Every kid knows this look. Mom, it's not about you. It's about your father valuing his family. She turns back to Dad. Her eyes are watery now. The crocodile tears are warming up in the dugout. Mom, I can't believe you'd rather spend your one day off with strangers than with us. After all I do to keep this family together. Dad's face, Anon's. It was like watching a glacier move. For the first time in my life, I saw something in his eyes besides tired resignation. I saw anger, a tiny, flickering pilot light of rage that had been burning for decades. Dad, that's not fair, Karen. Her name is Karen, I shit you not. Dad, I work 60 hours a week for this family. I haven't done anything for myself in 25 years. Not one thing. My golf clubs have rusted in the garage. My friends stopped calling a decade ago because I always said no. It's one Saturday. A month. The air gets thick. We're all holding our breath. He's never, ever talked back to her like this. Mom's face crumples. Here come the waterworks, right on schedule. Mom, so, that's what this is? You're blaming me? You think I've held you prisoner here? Dad lets out a sound. It's not a laugh. It's a dry, rattling, hopeless little noise. He stands up, puts his napkin on the table. Dad, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. He walks out of the dining room, and we hear the front door close. Just like that. Mom immediately starts sobbing. Full-on, body-racking, hyperventilating sobs. Bror and I just sit there, in the wreckage of a Tuesday night dinner, listening to the sound of our mother crying and the sound of our father's car driving away. We didn't know it yet, but the dam had just broken, and a whole lifetime of filth was about to come rushing out. Part 2. The Confession. Dad didn't come home that night. He texted me around 10 p.m. Staying at a hotel. I'm okay. Don't worry. Mom was a ghost. She just sat on the sofa, staring at the blank TV screen. Didn't talk, didn't cry anymore, just existed. It was terrifying. The next day, Dad came by while she was out to pick up some clothes. He looked old. Not tired old, but ancient old, like he'd aged a century overnight. Me. Dad, are you okay? Are you coming back? Dad, I don't know, sweetie. I really don't know. Your mother and I, we need to talk, but not yet. I can't yet. He left. The silence in the house was even heavier than before. Mom came home. She saw the missing clothes in his closet, and she finally, completely shattered. It wasn't the performative crying from dinner. This was something else. This was guttural, primal, the sound of a person's entire world collapsing in on itself. Bror and I sat her down on the sofa. We didn't know what to do. Put a blanket on her, got her water she didn't drink, and then she started talking. It didn't come out in a straight line. It was a flood, a torrent of guilt and regret and excuses, all mixed together. Mom, I didn't mean for it to get like this. I just loved him so much. I couldn't stand the thought of losing him. Losing him? Dad was the most predictable, stable man on the planet. He wasn't going anywhere. Mom, when you two were born, he was so happy. But he was tired. He worked so hard. And he had his friends, his hobbies. I was afraid. I was afraid they were more important than me, than us. She's looking at us, but her eyes are a million miles away, back in the past. Mom, so I made sure he couldn't go. Me. What are you talking about, Mom? Mom, the little things. At first, his weekly poker night, that was the night one of you would always get a fever. Amazing, wasn't it? How you always got sick on a Thursday? Bror and I look at each other. My blood runs cold. Mom. His friend Mark invited him on a camping trip, a whole weekend. I told him how scared I was to be alone with the baby all weekend, how I wasn't coping. He canceled. Mark stopped asking after that. She's not even crying anymore. She's just confessing, like she's in a trance. Mom. Promotions at work meant more travel, more late nights. So when he was up for that big promotion, I told him you were having nightmares, that you cried for him every night, that you were starting to stutter because of his absence. I told him the school psychologist said he needed to be home more. There was no school psychologist. I never had nightmares. Mom. He turned down the promotion. His boss was so disappointed. He never got an offer like that again, but he was home. For dinner. Every night. The fishing club. It wasn't about the fishing. It was about him having a life. A single, tiny sliver of a life that wasn't hers. And she couldn't stand it. Mom. I used you. I used you both. Every time he had a plan, I had a problem. A school play you desperately needed him to attend. A parent-teacher conference that couldn't be rescheduled. A sudden, mysterious illness that required his presence. Mom, I made you his whole world, and I made myself the gatekeeper to that world. If he wanted to see his kids, he had to go through me. If he wanted a peaceful life, he had to do what I wanted. I wrapped you around him like chains, and I told him it was a hug. She finally looks at us. Her face is a mess of tears and snot, and 25 years of ugly truth. Mom, he wasn't distant because he didn't love you. He was distant because he was in a cage, and he was trying not to rattle the bars. And I was the one who put him there. I thought it was love, but it wasn't. It was fear, and now he's gone. He's finally gone. She curled up into a ball on the sofa and just whispered, "What have I done?" over and over again. Bror was white as a sheet. I felt like I was going to be sick. My entire childhood, my entire perception of my father, my mother, my family. It was a lie. My dad wasn't the emotionally distant workaholic. He was a prisoner of war. And my mom? She wasn't the selfless supermom. She was the warden. We weren't a family. We were a hostage situation. Part 3. The Lies in Hindsight. The next few weeks were a blur. My brain went into overdrive, recontextualizing every memory I had. It was like the sixth sense, watching it a second time and seeing all the clues you missed. Except it wasn't a movie. It was my life. I'd spent my whole life seeing my dad through my mom's filter. A filter of sighs and, "It's okay, he's busy," and "Don't bother your father, he's tired." Now I was seeing everything without the filter. and it was horrifying. Anons, let me tell you about the little cuts. The death by 1,000 paper cuts that is a man's life in a situation like this. I'm maybe 8 years old. Dad comes home, excited. He's holding 2 tickets. Dad, they're playing Star Wars with a live orchestra downtown. I got tickets for me and you. I'm ecstatic. I love Star Wars. I love Dad. That night, Mom is quiet. The next morning, I wake up with a sore throat. Mom takes my temperature. Oh dear, 100 degrees. You can't go. You need to rest. She makes me a big show of it. Soup, cartoons, blankets on the couch. Dad comes to my room before he leaves to return the tickets. He looks so disappointed. Dad, it's okay, champ. We'll go next time. My sore throat was gone by dinner time. There was no next time. I'm 15. Dad's 40th birthday is coming up. He wants to do something simple. Have his 2 brothers over, order some pizza, watch the game. That's it. Mom insists on a massive surprise party. Invites all her friends, all the neighbors. People Dad barely knows. Dad, Karen, I really don't want all this fuss. Mom, don't be silly. It's your big day. It shows how much everyone loves you. The week before the party, she starts a huge fight with him over money. Something about a credit card bill. It's a nasty, screaming fight. The day of the party, they're not speaking. Dad has to stand there for 3 hours, wearing a stupid party hat, opening presents from people he doesn't know, forcing a smile while his wife glares at him from across the room. The party wasn't for him. It was for her. It was a performance, to show everyone what a loving, doting wife she was. His brothers left early. They looked uncomfortable. They probably knew. Bror is 12. He's struggling with math. Dad, who is a numbers and logic guy, offers to help him every night. Dad, we can sit down after dinner, buddy. We'll figure it out together. Bror is relieved. Mom steps in. Oh no, you have too much on your plate. You're too tired from work. Your methods are too old-fashioned anyway. I'll hire a tutor. The tutor costs a fortune. It becomes another financial stressor. Another thing for Mom to martyr herself over. The sacrifices I make for you kids. It wasn't about helping Bror. It was about cutting Dad out. It was about preventing them from having that hour together every night. It was about making sure she was the only one who could solve the family's problems. Any bond that didn't include her was a threat. Every single family vacation. Dad wanted to go camping in the mountains. Mom wanted a beach resort. We went to the beach resort. Dad wanted to take a road trip to see Civil War battlefields. Mom wanted to go to Disney World again. We went to Disney World again. It was always framed as for the kids. But it wasn't. It was what she wanted. And if Dad ever pushed back, she'd get that sad, wounded look in her eyes. Mom, I just thought the children would have more fun at the beach. And what could he say? Argue against his own children's happiness? He'd always cave. Okay, honey, whatever you think is best. She weaponized our happiness against his. And we were willing accomplices, because we were kids who wanted to go to the beach and Disney World. We had no idea we were pawns in her long, quiet war. Parental alienation. It was subtle. It was masterful. Here's $20 for the movies. Don't tell your dad. He'll just worry about the money. I know you're upset you didn't make the team. It's okay. We don't have to tell your father. He wouldn't understand. That's our little secret, okay? Just between us. She made herself the cool, understanding parent. The confidant. She made him the distant, disapproving authority figure. The financier. The guy who just didn't get it. We were trained from day one to see him as an outsider in his own home, and we never even knew we were in training. Part 4. The loneliness of the long-distance father. After the confession, I started really looking at my dad, not as Dad, the archetype, but as a man, a person, and I realized I didn't know him at all. His entire personality had been subsumed by 2 things, his job and my mom's agenda. What was left? Who was he when he wasn't being an employee or a husband? I started piecing him together from the fragments left behind in the garage, the attic, the back of his closet. In a dusty box I found old photos from before he met Mom. There he was, 20 years old, long hair, laughing with a bunch of guys around a campfire. He's holding a guitar. I didn't even know he could play the guitar. There he was on a golf course, looking genuinely happy, holding up a trophy. His golf clubs are in a corner of the garage, covered in cobwebs. There he was with a woman I didn't recognize. They were on a boat. They both looked so carefree, a life he could have had. I thought about how he spent his evenings. He'd get home from work, eat dinner in near silence, and then retreat to his armchair in the living room. He'd watch TV. History documentaries, old westerns, car restoration shows, things no one else in the family was interested in. It wasn't a retreat. It was solitary confinement. His one connection to the outside world was his work. He'd talk about logistics, about supply chains, about market forecasts. We'd all tune out. Ugh, Dad's talking about work again. We thought it was boring. I realize now he was just trying to talk about the only part of his life that was still his, the only part my mother couldn't control. He wasn't being boring. He was trying to connect, using the only language he had left. How many times had he tried to reach out? Hey kids, want to come help me fix the lawnmower? No thanks, Dad, it's boring. Hey sweetie, I'm watching this great show about World War II bombers. I'm going out with my friends, Dad. We saw his attempts to share his interests as an imposition, a chore. We didn't see it for what it was. A lonely man trying to find a single point of connection with his own children. A man trying to show us who he was, and being rejected again and again because we had been taught that his interests were boring and unimportant. The worst part is the loneliness. Not the physical loneliness of being in an empty house, but the soul-crushing loneliness of being in a full house where no one really sees you. To be a provider, a protector, a handyman, a chauffeur, but not a person. To have your entire identity boiled down to your function. You Anons talk about being invisible to women. Try being invisible to your own family, in your own home, for 25 years. That's a whole other level of hell. Part 5. The Aftermath. Dad was gone for 2 weeks. He stayed in a residence inn across town. He eventually came back. There was no big reunion, no dramatic apology scene from a movie. He just came back. Walked in one afternoon with his suitcase. Mom tried to hug him. He didn't push her away, but he didn't hug her back. He just stood there, letting her cry on his shoulder. A statue. They are still living in the same house. They sleep in separate rooms. The silence is different now. Before, it was heavy, full of unspoken tension. Now, it's light, empty. It's the silence of a void, the silence of resignation. Mom is a different person. She's a ghost. She floats around the house, trying to be helpful. She makes Dad his favorite meals, which he eats politely. She asks him about his day, and he gives one-word answers. She's trying to repent, but she doesn't realize she's not repenting to him. She's repenting to a memory. The man she married is gone. She killed him, slowly, over 2.5 decades. This new man, this quiet, polite stranger who lives in her house, does not care. He is free. He joined the fishing club. He goes every month. Sometimes he's gone the whole weekend. He doesn't ask for permission. He just puts a note on the counter. Gone fishing. Back Sunday. He bought a new guitar. He sits on the back porch in the evenings and plays. He's not very good, but he's getting better. He reconnected with one of his brothers. They talk on the phone now. He is, for all intents and purposes, a single man who just happens to have a live-in housekeeper. I tried to talk to him once. About everything. We were in the kitchen. I was trying to help him with something. Me. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't understand. He just kept wiping down the counter. He didn't look at me. Dad, it's not your fault. You were a kid. Me. But are you okay? Are you going to be okay? He stopped wiping. He turned and looked at me, and he smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It wasn't a sad smile. It was something else. The smile of a man who has survived a long, cold winter and can finally feel the sun on his face. The smile of a man who has nothing left to lose and is therefore invincible. He looked past me, out the window, at nothing in particular. Your mother thinks I stayed all those years for you kids. I didn't. I stayed because I made a promise, and I'm too stubborn to break a promise. She thinks she built a cage to keep me in, but she was in there with me the whole time. The only difference is, I knew it was a cage. She thought it was a castle. Now she knows. MFW. My dad is the most brutal, stoic, philosophical motherfucker I've ever met. MFW. I finally understand that for some men, quiet endurance is not weakness, but a form of honor so profound that most people will never even recognize it exists. MFW. I realize the female hamster wheel of emotional manipulation is nothing compared to the cold, simple, terrifying logic of a man who has decided to simply wait.